Okay, everybody, and we are live. Welcome back, everybody, for Thursday Night Book Club. Tonight we're doing Tyrion 4, and it is Mischa's birthday. Happy birthday, Mischa. Happy name day.
Happy name day.
Happy
We
birthday,
also have
Mischa.
a returning guest, LMR, and then we have a special guest today with us, Rhee Venjenz. So if everybody will introduce themselves, let's start with our guest and then go down the line. Rhee?
Hi, I'm Rhee Venjenz, or Miss Venjenz. Melissa, just hi. Most of y'all know me already. I'm happy to be here tonight. Thanks, Jen.
Mischa, birthday girl.
Yes, this is Mischa Houston. Thank you so much for inviting me. Yes, it is my birthday. And I just want to say I'm happy to still be alive. Everything that's happened. So if you want to check me out on Facebook and Instagram under Mischa Houston. And I look forward to a good chat.
LMR?
Hi, everybody. This is LMR. You can find me on my one of my channels, Living My Rhapsody, where I do my writing journey, and then on Living Reviews, where I do my reviews of random things, and also, of course, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Again, Jen, thanks for having me. It's always a blast here.
You're welcome. I'm glad you came. Alrighty. Well, LMR, you want to do the overview tonight?
Sure.
If you struggle, one of us else will pop in. But I think you got it.
Okay, I'm gonna be kind of peeking at my notes here too. So today we're doing Tyrion 4, Book 1, chapter analysis, overview, and discussion. So we start kind of in the beginning where he is already taken prisoner and he's on the road to what he finds out is the veil versus what Kat said. And then he kind of goes back into thinking about what happened, how he got where he is, how sure he was that he's going to be fine, and that where they're going, that he's going to be rescued. And then it turns out no. Then later on, there's a lot about his thoughts on just a general idea of what happened, how he got there. Let me see. I guess I'm stuck a little bit because there's so much, and I think there's a battle basically on their way. There's a battle, and he is given a weapon to actually fight, even though Kat says she doesn't trust his honor, but then she trusts him enough to give him a weapon, which also tells us about her logic, but again, survival style at that moment. The battle is over, and that's kind of when the chapter culminates. I think that's a very, very short overview, like really short. Is there anything you want to add to that? Or did I miss anything at the end?
Well, we don't have to. Let's jump right into it because there's so much information in this chapter. And again, we start off here at the end of the crossroads. So we've seen the end of the crossroads in several perspectives now, which is very interesting because it keeps returning and returning and returning in our story.
Exactly.
I want to go to when we first start the chapter, and one of Tyrion's companions, I can't remember his name, but he later dies. He's butchering a horse, Tyrion's mare, which he says was a present from Jaime. Happy birthday, Mischa.
Dig.
On his 23rd name day.
Yeah, at the beginning he was talking about it was Dick. Because I kept trying to figure out if what his name was, and it's like Jyck, and I was like, is he saying like Dick or Jake or what was his name? Because I was listening to the audiobook and it was hard, so I looked it up. But it's Jyck is how you say it. But yeah, he was mad about the horse and said that was another debt he owed the Starks.
Yeah, and then he kind of but I think butchering a horse, and then at the end he dies. So I guess that's all the fun he had, right? Because he butchered the horse, and then there he goes.
Yeah, he was talking about how he wouldn't need it either because, and then they started talking about the Dothraki customs too, and how the Dothraki ate it. I think that was kind of interesting just because of the fact of foreshadowing that,
Me too.
you know, if he does end up with
The Dothraki.
Dany and the Dothraki, then he's going to end up eating a horse anyways.
I think he's probably thinking to himself, this is disgusting. And he says, you know, because Braun's like, meat is meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Braun goes on to say, you know, the Dothraki like this more than pork or beef. And Tyrion really kind of goes on to say, well, it's a little bit different when you're eating your own horse. And he had a sentimentality towards that horse, a present from Jaime. And I think it's very interesting that this probably will not be the last time we see him served meat of a horse in the story, now that we know he kind of falls in with Dany's regime.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I thought it was a nice little mention there of the Dothraki, though, especially with their customs.
If he had been born Dothraki, there is nothing that would have kept Tywin from killing him, because that would have been what would have been expected in the norm.
Yeah, they even mentioned that too, that he would have been left for the feral dogs. And it was interesting too, because they first mentioned Bronn here too, and just how they were describing him. And I was like, because Bronn like knows everything about everywhere, but why does he know about the Dothraki customs too? But they described him with the dark hair, dark eyes, so maybe he has some Dothraki in him.
Right, and they say that Bronn, when they give a description of Bronn, they say specifically that dark hair, dark eyes, and that he resembles a shadow. Did anybody catch that?
Yep, shadow of a man, and even about says something about bones, about how he was just like the features were bony.
So with that whole shadow thing, would anybody like what is your opinion on him being kind of like one of the faceless men, being in the middle of everything? I mean, we know that Tyrion is in the middle of everything, but obviously he's, we know where he came from, at least kind of. We're suspecting where he came from, but what about Bronn? Do you think it is possible for Bronn to be kind of put in there? Because he's with Jaime, he's on both sides in a way. Is it a really, really tinfoily extremely? What do you think?
No, I think it's possible. I can see it happening. I think it would be better than him being a Rain or a Tarback, actually.
Yeah, just a thought. I mean, he's there kind of being loyal to whoever pays him, and it's fine with everybody knowing that he's a sellsword. So in a way, kind of everybody who is willing to pay him more is trusting him, because as long as they're going to pay him, he's going to do what they say. But we don't know what his agenda, like, really. Obviously money, but then faceless men are there for the money too. So anyway, just a thought.
And where is all this money he is supposedly acquiring? I mean, where is he stashing his wealth?
Yeah. I mean,
I think in the chat says bone white and bone thin.
Yeah, that was it. That was it. I was trying to look for it at her end.
Well, I mean, I personally don't think that he's a part of the faceless men. I mean, he just seems too confident in himself to put on a false, face. He just feels like his own man doing his own thing, not, adhering to any kind of standard or what's going on, with other people. It's all mainly about him and his own, he just feels so much more confident in himself, because it seems to me that these faceless men have thrown away themselves in their old life and want to be someone else. Sort of like Arya. She doesn't want to be Arya anymore. She wanted to join the faceless men. But then we have Bronn here, who is so confident in his ways. And I just feel like he's just a normal sellsword. But I wouldn't trust a sellsword, for anything. I mean, all they care about is the money. So,
it is
my opinion on that.
It is difficult to. I mean, it's great that they'll do whatever you ask them, until you pay them, or until somebody else pays them. That's the scary part, because you don't know But
Yeah.
I think who was it, Tyrion, who said like whatever they pay you, I'm gonna double it, or somebody said it somewhere to somebody.
I'll always, no matter what they offer you,
Yeah.
I'll always pay you higher.
Or higher or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a way of putting it nicely too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So, and we also get this, we get, yeah. Bubba Husky says, probably like Sir Duncan the Tall, always moving around and always close to broke. I agree, Bubba. And I also agree that, Braun is just so, the Faceless Men try to be a little bit, they don't try to be flashy. And Braun is a very flashy style person, especially on the TV show. He's portrayed that way. Yeah. He's not somebody who tries to obscure himself.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably one of the most honest characters, I guess.
Yeah. He tells you, he'll tell you no and he'll tell you why. And he doesn't do anything two-faced, so to speak. I mean, he lets you know right away, no, Lady Stark, I mean, just like we're not there yet. But, I mean, it's not like he does anything behind her back. I mean, he's with her when she offers payment because he's basically always looking for his next paycheck. But then when he sees an opportunity to climb and make a little bit more, he takes that, but he doesn't pretend, And I believe there is some honor in always being honest, even if it's not what somebody wants to hear.
I agree.
So, so they're going up to the Vale. They've lost, leaving the inn at the crossroads. They've lost a lot of horses and everything, and they're on their way up there. And that Tyrion even mentioned to himself at first when they start out on this journey, he really wasn't worried, because even though Catelyn Stark mentioned loudly and often where they were headed, he figured shit. Winterfell's a long way from here. Before it, and he noticed, and very specifically, he noticed that the Freys, even though they got up at first, they sit back down really quickly. And he even takes a mental note. And I think this is something that should clue us in about the Freys and their honor. That specifically Tyrion mentions the phrase, like, even if like they wouldn't help bring him to the Vale or take him and bring him back to his father, they would at the very least kind of play both sides, not really getting into the fray, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, very interesting choice of their name right there. So he specifically mentions them as somebody who would probably at the very least send his father a raven. And we know they play both sides of the fence. Of course, we as readers know more. But
it's really, really interesting that they stood up and then they sat down. It's a shame that Tyrion could see that, but not Robb. I mean, he just knew that the Freys would just back him no matter what. And everyone else can see how treacherous and manipulative the Freys are. And it's a shame because by him not seeing that, I mean, it cost him his life. So
and then
definitely a good foreshadowing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then I wanted to say his mom. Well, it is his mom. Kat should have said something, about that at some point. That Freys shouldn't be trusted, and she was making those alliances too with the Freys, with his son's kind of future.
Yeah, they even made note about how there was like 50 people in there and only a dozen stood up, or barely a dozen.
Exactly. And let's take notice of the people who did stand up.
She should remember that stuff.
Oh, I have them written down. Tyrion has his own list, and he added them all.
Specifically, I think it says the Brackens and the Wents.
We have 3 Brackens. The Went, Cerulus was the first one to stand, and then, of course, Marillion, our favorite singer. And then the 2 sellswords, which is, it was Chiggin is the name. That's the name of them. And Bronn. And then, I guess, do we count Sir Roderick? I don't know. Does he count? But Tyrion added them all to his list.
Tyrion, but, no, he doesn't really count, but Chiggin. That's a funny name.
I know. That's why I knew it was a weird name. The other guy was the guy that was with Tyrion. That's who he was. the
I
Jack
have a
guy,
question.
whatever. Yeah.
But as
Because
we know,
Tyrion
the
had two
Wents
guys with him and Morik, who just didn't do nothing. They
the
couldn't.
Wents were distantly related to Catelyn, so that's no big surprise. I would hope if anybody stood up
Yeah.
for her at that place, it would be the Wents. Those were her mother's people.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
He
what
was
side?
the one that said kill him.
And then we see the Brackens. The Brackens, right? Is it the Brackens or the Blackwoods stand up
No.
as well?
Brackens, 3 Brackens.
Jonas Brackens, man. Yes. Okay.
What side did the Brackens and the Blackwoods land on? Because I know that they're gonna end up fighting later on. Who's on? What side is the Bracken on, and what side is the Blackwood on?
Well, they end up swapping up later.
Yeah. But what side did they start on? That's the thing.
Blackwood, I know, was on Rob, and because Bracken was outside there when he switched. I think Bracken was on. I don't remember where he was originally, but I think he was with Rob for a while too. But I know that when Jamie went to go talk to him, that he's the one that he was still with Rob then. He got him to lower his banner.
Okay.
All right, you guys, how is my sound now? I put some earbuds in. Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so that's good. It's always good, I think, to always take a mental note of who's around, who witnesses what, and what side they fall in on.
And also, if we're still on the topic of who's there and what's going on, with Tyrion, especially when he was, I mean, he thinks of himself. I don't know if he mentions smart or cunning. I think he says cunning.
Funny.
Yeah, that's the word. I was surprised that he was fooled. I mean, I was fooled too, but it's Tyrion.
Too. I guess because I'm so used to hearing people talk about how all the Starks are not really that smart.
Yeah.
But Tyrion admits on the road to the Vale that not only was he tricked by Catelyn Stark, but that he takes kind of a personal offense to it, because if he certainly thought he was more cunning than her, but she manages to trick him, because that was the rest of my thought. Sorry, you guys. So he's thinking, okay, Winterfell, it's a long way off. He would know, he just came that way. And by the time his father gets a messenger and everything, something is more than, he would bet even that something is more than likely going to go wrong. But then when he realizes, yes, you're absolutely right, Elamar, that he has been completely fooled. He is not only, his pride is personally stung. He is not only upset because he's thinking, oh, shoot. Because it even says he wasn't really that worried at first. But then he really does. He starts to get a little bit afraid.
Exactly. And then it's gonna continue later on with Rob being fooled and with Jamie being fooled, and then the whole Blackwater Bay? There's some trickery going on, and then obviously later on with Dany and the forces, but that's just in a show now. So a lot of people who think that they're smart and they have a great tactic kind of have to take a double look at stuff, kind of with this is expectation. Yeah, overconfident. Yeah.
In this world, in any world.
Yeah.
You know why I'm saying this world? In any world, overconfidence can sometimes do you in. And I want to go to the chat real quick. Bubba Husky specifically says Bracken, more red horse symbolism. So not only do we have the horse being basically skinned for the meat at the beginning of the chapter, but then we have the Bracken here. I need somebody to explain that, because I'm like Sansa. I am a slow learner. Rhee, do you got this one?
Okay. Were you talking about the Bracken with the more red horse symbolism? It's just because the Brackens are the red horse, the sigils. It all comes back to the sigils. Symbol.
Well, yeah, I have that, but can you explain more about the symbolism? Just more
Okay.
red horse here.
Oh, You gonna make me get out my big book, girl.
Yeah, are we just gonna get into theory territory?
Yeah, we're gonna get way off. We're gonna get way off the chapter. Don't get me going right now. Yeah, but I will mention this with the red horse thing too. Just think about Drogo and the red comet and
The red waist.
yeah, all that. Yeah.
Okay, very good. That's for a special Sunday stream.
Yeah, I can get into a whole thing
I want
just
to go to
on
this before we move on. Bubba Husky says cunning is Tyrion's weapon, just like Sansa's is courtesy, but there are always chinks in every armor. Very good. Very good. And we also know if you don't fasten it correctly, you can get Sir Hugh right out of
Sir, that's a good one. Get Sir Hugh.
Yeah. All right. So you guys, so we're on the way to the Vale. And I guess, Tyrion is very uncomfortable. He can barely breathe. He can't see where they're going. He doesn't even realize where they are until they're well away. Riding makes him very sore. He's been just thrown, trussed up on a horse, basically. I love saying that word, trussed up. And then we get an attack from the Mountain Clan. And I think this is very interesting because we rarely see them. But I know that they're going to play a huge part coming up soon because they wouldn't be, nothing in these books is just filler. Everything means something. That's the stance I pretty much take. But
and actually, just before the attack, there was something I wanted to mention. Is it okay? Okay, so he actually, there was this thing about Tyrion thinking about that, and the quote is like, he never tolerated, or he tolerated no slights on the honor of his house. That's talking about Tyrion's father. So it's not just that, he may not care for his son, at least for Tyrion, but he cares for the line, for the honor. And like we see later on, he just thinks business, which is family. So family business has no care for them being traded or treated like,
Tyrion is actually one of the most honest characters. He's not always pleasant, but he actually is pretty straightforward with most people. We see him being very straightforward with Jon Snow, and then we see him, he's not lying to Catelyn. And then so they stop and they're resting, and he's telling Catelyn, why do you think that I would hurt your son? Why do you think that? And she tells him because of Littlefinger, and he basically makes fun of her. And is like, Littlefinger owns Littlefinger, and then tells her, which he says is a half-truth, that his father really could give two craps what happens to him, but he's not going to stand by and let somebody kidnap a Lannister because that makes him look weak, like he's not in control of his house. And it really does if you think about it.
It's a reminder that mothers
let me before we move into the Tywin Lannister, I kind of want to touch on Littlefinger a little bit.
Okay. I should have known.
I'm glad she did because
I main squeeze.
Thank you.
Oh yeah. Now
you love that little finger.
Oh yeah, I love Littlefinger.
I do too.
Now, Tyrion says that Littlefinger only loves Littlefinger. But when Catelyn thinks of Peter Baelish, she just thinks of Peter. So that kind of reminds me of two sides of the same coin with Peter Baelish. He's Peter Baelish to some people, he's Littlefinger to others. And I think that the part of him, the more loving part of him, if there is such a loving part in him, I think that belongs to Peter and not Littlefinger. So I kind of agree with what both of them were saying. Littlefinger only cares for Littlefinger, but there is a part of Peter Baelish where the love that he had for Catelyn when he was younger was really true. It was a true love there, and it started out in a good place, but it meandered downhill, especially with the duel and the scar on his chest and so on and so forth. So when they're talking about Peter, they're talking about two different people, but yet they're talking about the same man.
Very good catch.
I agree, and I wanted to add something to it if I could. I can kind of see, I never thought about him like that until you just mentioned it now, Mischa. So he, like you say, I completely agree that he was completely in love with Kat, like completely in love. I mean, he was willing to risk his own life to get her hand. And I think he must have noticed he is the man who learns quickly, it looks like. So he realized that in order to get his way, he needs to be more powerful. And he is I don't think he's frail, but he's more, of a not this great person like in size and height and all that to be powerful. But power comes from different places. So I think he must have somehow either made a plan or subconsciously decided on getting power. And that power might have gone to his head, and he forgot why he originally started on that not quest, but that journey, that route. And he just continues doing his thing, and maybe Kat became a distant ghost from the past, still kind of loving her and all that, but he might be at this point in love with himself, but still Kat has that special place in his heart.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with Sansa. If you go into the Feast for Crows, she sees the difference between the two. She sees the two people inside of the one man, So the Cat and Sansa, see him pretty much the same way, in regard. So I have to give Sansa credit on that point. And there was one more thing I wanted to say about it. Oh, I think I may have forgot it.
Well, if you remember, please just say, look, I remembered what it was I want to say, because every like and chat, it's very important. I want to just say again really quickly, happy birthday, Mischa. All right. I think that's so funny that this is a birthday chat, really, in honor of Mischa. And not only that, but we hear about a birthday present that Tyrion specifically really cherished at the very beginning. And that was totally not planned.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, hopefully your presents, Mischa, will stay safe. Nobody will take them or eat them. Unless it's your cake, which, happy birthday and share your cake, or
it's the cake, but not any of my presents.
Yes. Keep them for yourself.
right. Y'all, Phoebe came back. Remember how I was telling some of y'all that my cat ran away? Phoebe came back after 7 days. Cats are amazing. But anyway, there's the little Phoebe Phoebster.
Oh, cutie pie.
All right. So they're up there, and basically at this juncture, Tyrion is trying to convince Catelyn Stark, like, look, I didn't, what's the story he told you? Let me guess. That I bet against him during the joust on Joffrey's name day tourney when he went up against the Knight of Flowers. And she, got this look like, yeah. Now, and like we mentioned before, it's funny to me, I guess, and for Catelyn, she wants to remember, you know what? She doesn't know, in my opinion, she doesn't know the person he's become. She remembers him as the young boy who she kind of had dominion over because she was kind of older. And he was in love with her, and he would have done anything for her, risked his life for her. He's not that same person anymore. And while, like Mischa said, I do believe he has a place, she has a place with him, he's not willing to risk his life for her anymore. I don't think.
He was ruined by the Tully sisters, completely ruined.
And we went over that a few weeks ago when it basically said right there in the chapter that they fed him mud pies till he got sick. Yes, he ate their shit for many years.
Yes.
And it made him sick. And while he does think of them fondly, he also remembers the bad stuff too.
In a sense, they taught him everything he knew.
one could say that they definitely had a part with the way that he turned out and the way things ended. You know, they ended very badly for him. He's almost dead, feasibly, you know, probably bedridden for months and months. It probably took him a long time to recover from that. And all he had to do was stew. So he's end up with nothing. He's end up back at the fingers, no longer a ward at River Run, not married to Caitlin, you know, nothing. He ends up basically worse for the wear for that experience. But I mean, you got to have some respect for somebody who digs himself out of that. But then again, he did leave he left an impression on Lysa, and we know that she helped him quite a bit, getting him his position and whatnot. And
well, look, I mean, I have, you know, have read these books, and I was just completely astounded by what I read in that Storm of Swords, that last Sansa chapter in the Storm of Swords. And I have no sympathy for Lysa now. I did, but then I found out what she did to him. He had already been beaten up, but right before all of that, apparently she raped him. She's had sex with that man without his consent. I mean, I don't look down, I don't, give the double standard when it comes to rape. A woman can rape a man, in my opinion. And that's what she did to him. So I have no sympathy for this woman, this crazy, desperate, delusional woman who raped this boy when he was a child. I mean, that's disgusting. And now he's thinking that he finally laid with this woman. He laid with the woman that he loved for the first time. He believes that without question. I mean, it's just, I have no sympathy for Lysa. And
that Lysa, she is crazy like a fox.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, look, she's certifiable. I mean, she would be heavily medicated.
Crazy.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
I mean, a Littlefinger is horrible. I do believe that he is a good villain, but I love a good villain. I love a great villain. But I do have sympathy for him because he didn't get that way on his own. He had plenty of help. He had plenty of help with Catelyn, dangling herself in front of him. I mean, the dominion that she had over Peter all those years, and then that duel itself, and the humiliation, and then the rape by Lysa, and her craziness. I mean, he didn't get there on his own. He had plenty of help from these two women. From not having a family of his own. He never had a real family of his own. So he's grown up feeling like an outsider. And when he gets to a family, look what's happened. I mean, I understand that he's a villain, and I don't think that he's going to live, past the winds of winter. I believe that he may die or be killed or something like that. And I wouldn't be so hurt or bad about that. I love him, but I can move on from it. But I do have sympathy for Baelish because he has been dogged out.
He got used and then got dumped.
Yeah.
Very badly. And I'm telling you, that's the kind of thing that festers resentment in people big time.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I can't really blame Littlefinger too much, and I appreciate him for digging his way out, just as Jennifer said, and trying to make better for himself. But this is a slippery world that they're living in. You got to do whatever you got to do to stay alive. So, I ain't mad at him. He's a hustler. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, he needs to do what needs to do. I mean, what needs to be done. He's playing the game. And I was thinking about when you mentioned Lysa, right? Like how certifiable she is. It must have started at some point because Kat was she was genuinely surprised, I think, by how crazy her sister was. So I'm thinking if Kat knew, at least suspected something, she would be ready for a little bit of crazy while meeting her sister later on. But I'm just thinking like later after Lysa got her, crazy on, I mean, more. I wonder if sitting on that throne did anything for that. I mean, it's weirwood, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's either weirwood or there's something in the throne room that's weirwood. And her crazy being susceptible to crazy and sitting on that tree, I'm sure it got her all messed up too at some point. So
Possibly.
Werewood throne. Yeah, that's a good
The
theory.
werewood throne.
I've heard that before.
yeah.
That's
I heard it
possible.
somewhere. I heard it somewhere that there's a throne like that. And I'm thinking,
It's at Dragonstone. I think that's also werewood.
oh, see, that one I didn't hear. But yeah,
Okay,
like
real
her.
quick, just want to give a shout out to Bubba Husky, House Sanchez, Sancheezy, what's up? Stacy Smythe, Cameo. Kev from Bridge 4 popped in, y'all. He's got a really excellent channel. Please do check him out. If you like to watch videos a lot, then that's a channel for you because he certainly puts a lot out. And they're always very good. Even if you don't agree, they're very well done. Thank y'all so much. We always appreciate you guys coming by, even if you can't stay. Just pop in and say hey. All right, you guys. So where are we at? We're at the thought of Tyrion telling Catelyn, like, look, Catelyn Stark, you are crazy. If you think Littlefinger like harbors some kind of love for you, he has an agenda, basically. Everything he does, he 100% he has an agenda.
Yeah, but as someone on this panel, I can't remember who said before, Littlefinger does have an agenda, but all she sees when she looks at Peter Baelish is, the young man that loved her and fought for her. And to be honest with you, in regards to the show, I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. I would have liked, if Peter had to die, I would have liked for him to have died fighting for his life instead of having him on his knees. It would have brought the story full circle. It would have brought it all back around. Him fighting for his life, him fighting for Sansa like he tried to fight for Catelyn all those years ago, and just having him just fall to his knees and crumble without even so much of a fight is not Peter Baelish in his entirety. Everybody just wants to see the bad part, but everyone has goodness in them and everyone has wickedness in them. And I would have liked to have seen, the last bit of goodness, shine through him in his last, days, in his last scenes. He does have something decent in him. He has a good beginning, even though it was tainted over time. And in regards to the show, I would have liked to have seen a duel, him dying, fighting for his life, fighting for Sansa's forgiveness, something like, around that area. And they didn't do that.
I'm going to agree with you on that. I feel like, a big character like he was, I feel like they just, almost like when somebody leaves the show and it's unexpected and it's not planned and then they have to write them out. Mm-hmm. That's how it felt. It felt very rushed and very unfinished. And the only thing I can hope, and you can hope too, Mischa, because it's your birthday. Go ahead. It's your birthday. Go and party like it's your birthday. You can hope that he's not dead. You can.
Yeah, I certainly hope he's
I've certainly seen more than a few theories that he's not dead.
Yeah. I mean, he's my favorite villain of all the villains, but I like a good villain that's not just evil. Some of the villains in this story were just plainly evil, like Ramsay and Joffrey. But Littlefinger has a layer of goodness to him, and I would have liked to have seen that, more in the show, and especially in regards to his death. I don't mind them killing off a villain. I don't mind them killing off anyone, but don't leave them short shrift. And I
understand what you mean. I was watching Dinner Thieves yesterday, and I was rooting for the bad guys to get that money. I mean, why not? Anyway,
there's some kind of
I'm telling the criminal what to do. I'm not rooting for Jack McCoy. I'm rooting for that criminal. All right, now
there's this quote I read somewhere. I don't remember it exactly, but it said, if you don't write, if you don't write a good ending for a character, at least write him a good death. So there's nothing better than a good death for good or bad person. Just give them something epic, not just oh yeah, he died. The end. No, like just
I mean,
yeah.
What if he died for a good reason though that we don't know yet?
Yeah.
Like, does anyone else think that maybe Sweet Robin is his son?
That would be that is an awesome theory. I would love to touch upon it at some point because it's just
to me that would be like just like the ultimate just satisfaction and for Sweet Robin to be his son and end up.
I mean, he looks like him.
He looks like him. He does. Characteristically everything.
He doesn't share the Aaron coloring at all.
Right.
And hair color is like a really, big defining factor in someone's lineage. I mean, it's exactly what led Ned to finding out about Cersei and her children. I can't believe. I mean, so why, wouldn't this boy, this crazy, sickly, weak child, not be Littlefinger's? I mean, I think he is. I always kind of wondered.
Yeah.
With Harold,
no, I definitely do too.
And other Aaron people coming into the story. We didn't know it because John Aaron was dead and he was gray by the time he died, right in the beginning. So it would be very interesting indeed.
I mean, in the book, I'm hoping for it, and I'm counting on it to be explained, for that to be explained in the book on a show. That like there's so many different things that they need to spend time on, but I'm so very much rooting for the book to explain it and actually give us that.
Especially because we've heard about with Liza before and the Tansy, and with her father and all when he was sitting there with Catelyn and all talking about the Tansy tea and all that. So we know that she has been pregnant by him before.
Yeah.
And we know that she's had several miscarriages and lost babies with John Aaron. Right. So the only one confirmed pregnancy we do know that she did have was with Peter Baelish.
That's true.
So,
exactly.
It would make perfect sense to me.
And another thing about Peter Baelish, and I'm going to go ahead and let him go. I know that they were having an affair.
Yes, I'm with you.
I agree. I think they were having an affair too.
I know it. I know they were sleeping together. How the hell excuse me, I cursed. I'm sorry. But how how did he talk her into just killing her husband without, a little bit of
talk
side? Come on now. They were having an affair.
Oh yeah. I don't think they ever stopped actually.
He knew what to do.
Yeah.
I agree.
He knew exactly what to do. Get her to do what he wanted her to do.
And speaking of Littlefinger and the weapon that we kind of right now know that was his, the dagger, I wrote something down here for when Tyrion that was still before the battle, when Tyrion said something like it was not my dagger, only a fool would arm a common
criminal
exactly with his own blade. And then that's obviously a hint for Kat to realize, to use her brain power and, add two and two together. But also that name of it, I don't know if it was discussed in previous chapters when I didn't go back that far, where the name of it's called Cat's Paw Dagger, right? And there's always a double meaning for that. It's named because, of the person who was holding it during the attack. But again, my thought was Cat, that's her name. Her, it's not a paw, obviously. It's it's a palm, but going to the animals with a cat, and her name is Cat, and she was cut like right here somewhere, right? So the name of that dagger, from the person who was holding it to the person who actually got cut with it, that kind of got me thinking about like double meanings to it. And that cut that she carries right now, it's like a reminder all the time about her son. So she'll be it's almost impossible for her to forget what happened, because the scars that she has currently, she's going to carry them, and that's going to give her the memory all the time to not forget it, not to forgive it.
That's true. Okay, so y'all, if y'all don't mind, we could talk about Littlefinger for hours. I know Mischa could.
Well, of course
So we
I
get
can.
I
Tyrion
can talk with you.
defend himself, but it's useless
Yeah.
because Catelyn's already had it in his mind before the Lannisters even got to Winterfell that they're not to be trusted, they have no honor, etc. So he's fighting an uphill battle in snow with no shoes on, no walking stick. You know, it's not going to happen, and we know that. And then they get attacked by the Mountain Clan, and they hear them coming. And let me tell y'all, and I've mentioned this before, being a person that has horses, even 6 horses in a pasture, if something spooks them or you call them up for food and they all come running at you, you can hear it. You can feel the ground tremble. So 25, I think they name off that it sounds like about 25 horses. You can certainly, yeah, they would have known for quite a while, quite a bit. They would have known before they got right up on them. And obviously, they didn't plan any kind of stealthy attack, you know, because 25 horses is a lot. They were on a mountain pass. You would think that if they were trying to be stealthy and sneaky, they would have got up, tethered their horses, and kind of walked in on them and done more of a guerrilla style attack and ambushed them. You know what I mean? But they choose not to do that.
Well, you can
So
tell.
they had obviously been being watched for some time, and they acknowledge that in the rather short conversation they have. And Catelyn decides that she is not only going to arm the people that were with Tyrion, but Tyrion himself. And does somebody want to talk about how that battle goes? And let's also mention this is Tyrion's first foray really into any kind of combat. And I tell you, it doesn't really talk much about this, but he does come away, even though he's a prisoner. But, you know, he's fighting against a common enemy here at the time because they would have killed him as well. So he does come away from this battle with a sense of pride and a sense of achievement and accomplishment. So does anybody want to talk about the battle? And did anybody write down, one of the people mentions what clans he thinks it might be.
Oh, I didn't write down the names. I'm so bad with names. But I had a question. Is it really his first battle? I don't know, but it seemed to me like on a show it was his first battle, but he seemed really good at what he was doing. So it is his first battle, right?
Yeah, he says it is
Okay.
his first battle.
His second battle is when he leads the mountain clans after he makes friends with them when he leaves the Vale.
And leads a van.
It's the
the
first
other,
time. It's the first time that he's killed a man. Put it like
definitely that. But yeah, I'm pretty sure this is his first, you know, battle because, and you know what? Like, I get the feeling, if not from the books, from the show, when he's put into that first battle, his father doesn't necessarily think he'll even survive when he's put in the vanguard.
Oh yeah.
The very front lines of a battle.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so this is his first battle. And
Nice practice.
And he's really good about it.
He beats the guy with the shield, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And actually saves Catelyn's life. You'd think that she would let him go just based on that. But that just shows that the woman has no sense right there.
A better person would have at least shown. So I think a better person would have at least been willing to listen to his reasoning then.
Right.
Because, I mean,
he had the doubt there too.
Also, though, y'all got to remember, and you two are mothers. She really does believe that this person sent somebody to kill her child. So, you know, there's a few situations. Mischa, I don't even have a niece. Gosh, I wish I did. But there's a few situations and when no quarter, no mercy will be given. And messing with somebody's children, that's one of those situations. So,
Jen, you heard me, Jen, what I said about what happened after that bus thing with my daughter, right?
Right.
I know, crazy. So
listen to all of you guys tell stories about the way you feel about your children and your nieces and whatnot. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, the crazy comes out. I'm a calm person in general, but mess with my kids and basically pick your gravestone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
write your thing.
But you know what? Even as a mother, and even as crazy as I get over my kids, I still think she is a horrible mother. I think Cersei is a better mother than she will ever be, because she should have never left her 3-year-old baby child running wild, and her other son in a coma to begin with, and her son that was trying to learn how to be a lord. I mean, why would she leave? There was no reason for her to leave to
I
begin with.
agree, and I've said that before. I don't think she should have ever left Winterfell. She basically made something that was bad way worse.
And abandoned her children. To me, that was abandonment right there.
Yeah,
You discussed that in the Caitlyn chapters that
Yeah.
really Caitlyn, made something jump off that was much worse, and it was already really bad.
Yeah.
but I'm keep thinking that we in that book and in a show we're meeting characters that are not perfect, and just because somebody is a mother doesn't make her perfect. Motherhood is,
Trial and error.
the mother, and
Exactly.
has to wing it somehow, unless she was reading tons of books, but books never prepare anybody for anything like that. So I believe she loves her children very much, but just because there's love, with love all logic goes like out the door.
In a sense, yes.
And not just for opposite sex love for somebody who you're going to be with, but love for your children. You may completely lose everything, just that love will drive you and to many crazy, horrible, and illogical things. So I never expect anybody to be perfect or even close to good, because people in general are not that good. So
No, you're right.
I agree.
Guys, we talked about extreme hate, love. Let's talk about extreme hate. And you know what struck me about this is because not only does Tyrion hate Marillion, but Sansa also really hates Marillion. And Tyrion wishes him dead, and Sansa and Littlefinger kind of end up being the cause of his torture and death, which kind of reminds me of the situation in which Sansa wishes Jano Slint dead, and then Jon ends up being the cause of Jano Slint's death.
Jen, I remembered something. I was going to mention it to you because we, in our Sansa video for Sunday special, which is coming up next Sunday, a third final part to that. Don't forget to go there, whoever's watching it. So I remember that, Jon is the one who actually carried out the Sansa's wish, but it was Tyrion who sent him over there. So I actually kind of thinking he was the one who made it possible for Jon to carry out Sansa's wish. And I just got it from listening to, what is it, Clash of Swords, is it? Just the other day. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So in here, this for somehow reminded me of that because Phoebe, because Tyrion hates Marillion.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and he does kind of get the last laugh with Marillion, which is one of my favorite parts about this chapter. But yeah, does anybody want to touch on this fool Marillion?
Yeah, I would.
Please, Mischa.
I would like to discuss Marillion, because Marillion was there when Sansa was there, and was there when Catelyn was there, and it really shows how foolhardy he was, that he couldn't see the resemblance. He couldn't put it all together that this young girl with this red hair and this blue eyes is here to see her Aunt Liza. Did it ever occur to you that maybe as these people are all connected to each other, these people all are a part of a family? Did it ever even occur to him? No, it didn't. I mean, we all know that Catelyn and Sansa look like twins almost. They're almost like looking like twins. They carry the same features, the same Tully features, the eye color, the stature of it all. And he doesn't even realize that, hey, I met your mother. I met your mother.
Good point, Mischa. I didn't even think about that. And not only did he meet her, hell, he traveled with her on the road for days.
Traveled with this woman, exactly, on the road for days, looking in this woman's face. And it never occurred to you that here comes this young woman looking just like Catelyn, meeting her aunt for the first time. I mean, I know he had to know that that was Liza's niece. At one point, he had to have found that out one way or the other. So, I mean, did it not even occur to you that you were trying to help Catelyn and make mock of the Lannisters, but here you are, threatening the life of and abusing her daughter. So it really proves how twisted and foolish and twisted and delusional he was. He was really, really a crazy man. He was really crazy. Girl,
Yeah, that was also when like they
down.
first started talking.
Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
Jennifer, please put the cat down.
She keeps jumping back in my lap. I know, y'all. I know.
She's jealous.
Like,
She's
baby,
jealous.
please
Yeah.
go away. I'm like, she bit me just a minute ago. I love her to death, but she's becoming, incessant. And I'm just like, come on, Phoebe, now. And so, yeah, I was trying to get rid of her, Mischa, but
I'm not trying to troll you, but that cat.
no, it's okay. But she keeps kind of slipped back up here in my lap, wanting me to pet her head. I guess her head itches. I'm sorry. I was trying to get. Finally, she's found something else to go get into. Thank goodness.
Elamar,
Buddy, Lisa, I love you. Happy birthday! I'm gonna send you that cat for a present.
Oh my God.
No, I'm afraid of cats, so don't worry. Rhee's Venjenz, did you have something to say? And then Elamar, could you go ahead and read your comment that you wanted to read? Rhee, what did you have to say, Rhee?
Go ahead. Go ahead. She done distracted me with a cat. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Elamar.
Okay. I mean, cats. I would love to have a cat, but my son has a really bad allergy to it, so that's why we got dogs here.
I have allergy. So, yeah.
And one is sleeping right there. He actually is quiet for once. Frankie's quiet today. So there's a comment I wanted to read, kind of going back on our previous topic here. Bridge 4, Kevin from Bridge 4 says again about cats, and I know he likes cats a lot as a mother, so I just wanted to bring up that comment here. He says, but she thought the Lannisters tried to kill Bran, so she's picturing the hubby she loves surrounded by lions who are going to kill him. And then there's a comment from Baba Husky, lifelong prejudice towards Lannisters on Cat's part, and obviously it is supported by different things that happened. And then Cammy says, surrounded by lions who did kill him. So yeah, the woman is acting all irrational, but kind of irrational, but in her mind she's still thinking, okay, they tried to kill my kid, and they're gonna do something to my husband, which they later on did. I just wanted to bring up that comment because yeah, he does make a point. Yeah, but go ahead. That was my comment. I wanted to just bring it up.
Very good. Okay, so we're at the fight with the Klansmen. Marillion is a cat, but with a P. Since we're talking about cats, and I had a cat in my lap, I couldn't resist the double entendre, I think is what. I'm sorry, y'all. I just couldn't resist. But even Tyrion gets a kick out of that. So Marillion, so we've talked about Marillion, and he even says, like, I'm a singer. I know nothing about battle. And at one point, Tyrion even just says to him, man, lay down and pretend you're dead. Yeah. And a horse ends up falling on him and breaking his instrument and his fingers on his playing hand.
Mm-hmm. I know Tyrion was pleased at that. Pleased. Yeah. He couldn't make mock of him, during a horrible song. The singers are very interesting people in this. The singers in this, like Butterbumps and Marillion and Abel, there are a lot of interesting singers in this, and it's really interesting. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but it is interesting how the singers are portrayed in this. Now, this is supposed to be the song of Ice and Fire, but the singers are not, living up to that good title. You know, the singers are evil. The singers are nefarious people and deceptive people. But then again, now that I think about it, maybe the singers are living up to that, living up to this evil, deceptive type of story, because this story has a lot of layers of deception in it. And it can be very deceiving. And George keeps you looking one way when you should be looking somewhere else. So maybe the singers being evil for the most part are good, is a good thing, you know, at least in my opinion.
And then we've got, let's not forget, Darion up
Yeah.
at the wall, who claims to be falsely accused, entering a lord's daughter's bedroom, claims he wasn't the first there or whatever, but he's innocent. But then the first time we see him away from authority, what does he do?
Yeah.
So
He
you're right,
becomes loud.
Mischa. In a way, they do live up to their hype,
Yeah, and
so to speak.
and the history is said to be written by victors, but the victors dictate what is being written in those stories. So the singers may just want to make it more interesting and kind of, I mean, it is all, there's always grain of truth in whatever they're singing, but eventually the song will die if the ruler doesn't like the song. I mean, obviously the song will die because the singer will die and nobody else wants to sing the song that the singer died for. So yeah, history eventually will be written by the victors who control the singers.
That's true.
Like how Joffrey ended up torturing the one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's, yeah, I mean, the singers to me are very, very interesting people. I mean, there are so many interesting people in this story. So, I mean, people that you just can't gloss over. And that's just one of the things I just love about the Song of Ice and Fire. I mean, big ups to George R. R. Martin for writing this story. I wish that I had read it when it came out, but I'm happy to be reading it now as an adult, you know, than as a child trying to understand it. I mean, so big ups to George R. R. Martin for writing such a great story. No doubt about it. I can't wait for wins. I'm waiting for wins, guys.
Oh, we're gonna have fun with it.
Okay, so we've got the fight, and Marillion's useless. A horse basically tramples him. He's all like, "Someone help me! Gods have mercy! I'm bleeding!" And Tyrion is like, "I believe that's horse blood. You know, close your eyes and pretend you're dead."
Yeah, survival.
You're useless, basically.
Yeah, with that one, it was interesting too, because we see somebody who thinks they're dead or dying, not dead, I'm sorry, dying, but they're actually not dying. He sees all this blood, he thinks he's gonna die, this is him bleeding, he feels the pain probably, freaking out, but he's not dying. So it is interesting to think about it in a way where we think somebody is gonna die, or somebody, like for example John, well, not exactly, but you know, John, we think there's blood coming out, he's covered with blood, well, he dies obviously, but then, you know, he's not dead, or you know, he's alive again. So that scare, that initial scare, like, oh my gosh, he's dead, he's dying, that's it. And no, he's not dead. So that kind of again got me thinking about later events, of that not everything is what it looks like in the beginning.
Yeah, that's true.
He probably played on Lysa too for the pity, and that's how he ended up worming his way into the Eyrie with her.
I mean, those two, Liza and Marillion, are just as crazy and delusional as each other. So I'm not surprised that they flock together.
Oh, yeah.
She's lonely and pitiful, and he's trying to feel important. He wants someone to believe his songs and believe in him, and then here she comes, lonely and miserable, and watching all this chaos around her. I'm sure she would like a pretty song to listen to and forget all the horrors that is going on around her. And I think that really, you know, shows a little bit about Sansa as well, her love for the songs. But good thing for Sansa and Fee, she grows out of wanting.
Yes, I was just going to say that. Thank God she grows out of that.
Yeah, she learns.
Birds
She learns,
of a feather and all that. I get what you're saying, Mischa. Birds of a feather flock together, and Marillion and Lysa are both. Even if we're not really seeing Marillion as super crazy right now, like he definitely believes his own lies. Type of crazy.
Yeah, I already know what. I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I saw what he was when they first mentioned him in this chapter. It was something wrong with him from the beginning.
You was right away. You was like, he's thrown off.
He's thrown off. I mean, he really had my spider senses tingling when the first thing out of his mouth talking to Sansa, it was something off right then and there. And what's that on your wrist?
I was trying to show it to Kev. He was complaining because no one was saying enough Song of Ice and Fire verbiage. It says Valar Morghulis.
But yeah, as far as Marillion goes, he was never any good. I'm glad he met his fate, you know.
That's right. So Tyrion looks around and he sees Catelyn Stark is trapped against a stone, and his first thought is, let them have the bitch and welcome to her. Yet somehow he was moving. He caught the first man in the back of the knee before they even knew he was there, and the heavy axe had split flesh and bone like rotten wood, logs that bleed. Tyrion thought inanely as the second man came for him. Tyrion ducked under his sword, lashed out the axe, and the man reeled backward, and Catelyn Stark stepped up behind him and opened his throat. The horseman remembered an urgent engagement elsewhere and galloped off suddenly. Tyrion looked around, and the enemy were all vanished or vanquished. I got it mixed up. Vanquished or vanished. Anyway, and then Bronn says to him, your first, and then Tyrion's kind of in shock that he's lived through all this and he's seen all this and actually participated in it, did some good. And Bronn looks at him and goes, your first battle? And Tyrion, you know, very, his dry sense of humor, my father would be so proud. And then Bronn says, you need a woman now. Nothing like a woman after a man's been blooded. Take my word. And Tyrion glanced to where Lady Stark was dressing Sir Roderick's wounds. I'm willing if she is, he said, and the free riders broke into laughter, and Tyrion grinned and thought, there's a start. That's something about Tyrion. He always tries to find common ground with somebody, no matter what their status, and laughter is a good way to do that with anybody in any world.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point, Jennifer. He knows how to talk to people. And knowing how to talk to a person is a rare and very fair feature. Communication is key. Absolutely. Communication is key.
That keeps me being worried for Tyrion. I hope he won't lose a tongue. And I'm seriously hoping that he will not be the one. I mean, somebody has to lose their tongue over there because it's all over the text and in the show. So I kind of expect it to happen, but I really don't want Tyrion to be the one to lose it.
Oh, yeah, you guys, we didn't go into this. In this particular chapter, when he is telling Catelyn that all that Littlefinger was interested in was her maidenhead, like he spread around, one of the, I think it's the Went, or either one of the Brackens offers to cut his tongue out. Mm-hmm. So, you know.
Yeah. And it's not the first time. I remember somewhere, I may be wrong, but obviously like with anything. But I remember that being said before too. And not only about him, but at least somebody else there too. It's just too many times to not give us a payout for that. I mean, I want to see that. Not see that, but I want to, I'm horrible, I guess. I want that to happen to somebody on the show. Yeah.
Well, Euron likes to cut tongues out.
Yeah.
Euron. I mean, if it's anyone that would do something like that, it would be Euron. He's probably done it already. And they showed someone having their tongue ripped out when Euron attacked Yara's boat. You know, the big boat battle scene where Euron popped up out of nowhere and everyone came piling onto the ship. And started killing people, and that whole situation, someone did lose their tongue. I remember seeing that. So it's not, uncommon. If anybody's going to do something like that, it's going to be Euron. No doubt about it. In the books and in the show.
Speaking of books on the show, I see some comments here about a lovely verbiage, and yeah, that was Kev said. Who said it originally? Was it? I keep hearing John say it. He said 7 house or something like that. Was it John who said that? Like in the meme or somewhere? With that,
Arya says it when Sansa's going on and on about, I'm gonna marry the prince and have beautiful blonde-headed babies. And
oh, she says that too.
7 hells.
I remember John, I think, saying it. Was it to Ygritte? Like, I don't know, but whenever
I remember him saying it. Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, funny thing, because that's the thing that I say now, and I kind of am embarrassed, and nobody knows what I mean. Like, obviously, I didn't mean, hey, how are you? I say that, and they're looking at me like, what's? I mean, I don't say it to strangers. Yeah, I don't do that, but like in family, friends, surroundings, I say that, and they look at me like, and I said, Game of Thrones thing, you won't get it unless you read the book, and then you can know my code. Come join us.
Wear t-shirts. Yeah. I'm telling you, you will get approached everywhere. You have no idea how many people start talking to me just in random places.
So do you guys have like, we're kind of off topic, but like in comments, does anybody, you can write it. I would love to hear if you have your saying that kind of you got from Game of Thrones. What do you say? Because I say that, and it works.
Words of wind. I've said words of wind before, I think. Maybe once or twice I've said words of wind. So that
nice. That's a good one too. That is very nice.
I don't think I've said anything else, but maybe, I don't know. We'll have to see. But I know I have said that words are nothing but wind. That's all it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So Catelyn Stark wants to bury the dead, and they've lost quite a bit of their party. But then somebody tells her, I believe it's Bronn, who starts insisting. He says, look, if you're going to do that, I'm going to head on, because, this was only wave 1, basically, of an attack if we've been scouted. And Sir Roderick even backs him up and says, my lady, I mean, I hate to say it, but he's right. We've got to go. And they talk about taking Tyrion's axe and his dirk, a short knife that he's gotten off a body away from him. And Catelyn Stark says, no, let him keep it. And Tyrion thanks him, and she says, save them. I trust you no more than I did before. And then Tyrion took the axe from Bronn, adjusted. He also got him a little half helm, anything to make him feel more protected. And he rides up past Marillion, who has taken the Shadowcat cloak that looks like the leader of the band that attacked them had on. And he says, Craven, he said, rhymes nicely with Raven. And he kicked his horse and moved past the singer up to Sir Roderick and Catelyn. She looked at him, lips pressed together tightly. As I was saying before we were so rudely interrupted, Tyrion began, there's a serious flaw in Littlefinger's fable. Whatever you may believe of me, Lady Stark, I promise you this. I never bet against my family.
Yeah. So there's a lot in that. I got a couple things from that. So one of them was there. It said too stony for burial. She will be, so basically, again, stony. She wants to give them proper burial, but if they're stones, so I'm thinking Lady Stoneheart. That's another thing. Plus, later on, she wants to treat them properly and bury their bodies, not just leave them for animals. And later on, she actually is the one whose body is left outside completely without respect, just thrown in the river for the dogs, for animals. So again, this is kind of the thing from last stream that we had, I think, or one of the previous ones, where we said that people want to do good, like Jaime wanted to do good, he wanted to help who was it, gosh, I'm thinking Richard, how can I forget his name, the king. Complete space out. So anyway, he was trying to help him. He got pushed and he fell in the mud, and later on he falls in the mud when he's trying to help Brienne. So here Kat is trying to bury them. She's trying to treat them properly, their bodies, and later on, she's the one who's left on the road in the river, being dragged out by animals. So that's kind of what I got from that.
Very good. Yeah, I agree. Not only is she done that way, but they threw her in the river like that as a mock to the Tully's ritual of burial, where they, we saw it in the show very clearly, where they put them on a little raft and burned them. So they just stripped her naked and threw her in the river, not only, but to be extremely disrespectful.
Like a fish in a way, right? Because isn't her family, is it sigil, a fish?
The trout,
So fish. So she came from a river, she goes back to the river.
Yeah, they like threw her in as like a mockery of their funeral tradition.
Yeah, exactly. Very disrespectful. Just that one last dig,
Yeah.
And that kind of hate and stuff is born only of somebody who has really resented somebody for years and years and years. And you really get that from Lord Frey, that he has really resented the fact that the Tullys are basically his higher ups.
Yeah, jealousy.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of the people who actually got her into that, again, there was right before, a while during the battle, I noticed it said something like she was surrounded by 3 men or something on 3 sides. So against a mountain or something. That again reminded me that in a way, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I remember, she was betrayed by 3 main people, wasn't she? That was the Wolverton, Walder Frey, and Tywin Lannister. So in a way, later on, she is surrounded from all sides by those 3 men in real life. Here we have 3 people who are surrounding her. And I think one of them was on a horse. So the one on a horse reminded me about Tywin. I mean, when I picture Tywin, I picture him either cutting that deer. I don't know why. Maybe that's the first scene when I see him in actual show as a person, or I see him on a horse. And again, that's just a picture that I have. So that got me thinking about the 3 men surrounding her during that battle, and 3 men who actually ended her life, that ended her in a river.
And it's also something I'm hit to talk on at the very beginning. When Tyrion is upset that they have to basically skin his horse for meat, he's very upset behind that, and he mentions that was a present, that mare was a present from Tyrion on his 23rd name day. That means Tyrion has had this horse over 10 years. Number 1. Number 2, a horse, and to give somebody a horse in this particular time period to steal somebody's horse was a death penalty offense in a lot of states up until like the turn of the century. So to give somebody a horse, it's like giving somebody a very expensive car, or, so I know a lot of people always say, well, are Jaime and Tyrion really that close? They must have been, because he gave him a horse for a birthday present, which is like next down from giving somebody, a holdfast or something like that. Because think about it. If you're anybody doing anything, you need a horse, just like when we hear about the knights. They not only have to have their entry fee into like all hedge knights, they're trying to keep a horse, keep a pack mule, keep their armor, and keep entry fee.
Jaime has his 2 horses too, Honor and Glory, which one is white, one is red too. Speaking of the red horses again, which are like his pride and joy that he rides. So yeah, that's a good point about the horses there.
Right. So if you're doubting that there was any real love lost between these 2 Lannister siblings, that right there should tell you, at least at some point in time, Tyrion loved Jaime with all his heart, and at the very least, Jaime was very affectionate towards his brother.
Oh, I think
I
do.
Affectionate towards
and with yeah, exactly. I mean, he did everything to kind of make him feel good, like not like he was complete opposite of Cersei with how he was acting, maybe even compensating for her, maybe. And again, that act of killing that horse, I was thinking like, why would they kill that horse? Usually, wouldn't that horse be better, not equipped, because horse is a horse for riding, but wouldn't it be better or stronger since it was Lannister's horse? So technically it would make sense to kill maybe some older horse of
No, I think
some lesser somebody
the horse was dying.
for eating.
No, the horse was
Oh,
dying.
he did? Oh,
The
from
horse
being
was
tired.
dying.
Okay.
And because
Okay.
they were in a precarious
Okay.
situation themselves, they were not wasting
Okay.
resources.
Okay.
So, and Tyrion was upset about it.
Anything. Okay.
You know,
Yeah, and with that, like it said in the beginning, meat is meat, right?
right.
And then there's
the
no regard.
horse in the chapter before, he had no serious attachment to this horse. He was more
There's
pissed that he lost the
There's some
tournament.
static. I didn't
But
hear that.
Tyrion was sincerely upset, not only that his horse died, but that the thought of eating his one-time birthday present, it bothered him.
I mean, I think what really bothered him, and he said this in the chapter, was how outsmarted he was. I think he's angry about the horse, but I think he's more upset the fact that he's been outshined by this woman, outshined and outwitted.
Outwitted. Mhm.
Yeah, outwitted.
No, definitely that. Definitely that. I think the horse is just a culmination.
Yeah.
You know, where he's like, shoot, I'm in the middle of nowhere where absolutely no one knows where I am. My horse just died, you know, and he's, like it said in the beginning, he wasn't really that worried when everybody knew their destination. But then when he finds himself on a steep mountain pass, hungry, wet, cold, his horse is dead, nobody knows where he's at, and he knows they're going, and he knows Lysa. So he knows she's crazy, she's crazy as a fox.
Mm-hmm.
And she knows there's going to be no, it even uses this word in the chapter several times, succor, Succor, which means like mercy, help. The local church up here is called Prompt Succor. And it basically is my local parish church. It would mean like the Blessed Mother's help, basically, roughly translated. So we see that word 2 or 3 times in this chapter. Well, there's going to be no succor up there at the Vale, for sure. And he's realizing, you're right, Mischa. He's had the realization, I'm up shit creek without a canoe or a paddle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he values his intelligence, and it really reminded me, and that he really, really relies upon his wits because he honestly feels he doesn't have anything else. So to have his wits, be completely outshined by someone else, to have him be tripped up, I bet he feels really worthless. He feels worthless and powerless. And that's not something a Lannister or even Tyrion would want to feel at all. He values his wits as much as a beautiful woman would value her looks. I mean, it's all that he thinks that he has to offer. He needs it. And
I hate when somebody outwits me. I really do. Like if they come out with the last word, and that's one thing my husband would definitely attribute to, and definitely my mother would tell you, that I like to have that last word.
And Tyrion likes to have it as well, and he certainly is not going to get his way on that. He's not going to get his way for a good while now.
You're right. Yeah, I'll be right back.
Yes. Yeah, Tyrion, it really kind of shows me how dark-hearted he is, how self-loathing, the self-loathing that's in his heart. The things that he was saying to Catelyn in regards to Littlefinger and the virginity and so on and so forth, that was really dark and ugly thing to say. I really found that very disturbing. And this is kind of the beginning of seeing the real Tyrion, in my opinion. Now they didn't show any of this in the show. They kind of whitewashed Tyrion, but he has a really really dark soul. He has a dark mind frame. He's a dark man with a dark purpose, and he is far more dangerous than he appears on the outside. So, I mean, as much as I love Tyrion, I really want to acknowledge how dark-hearted he is, how how his purpose in life has a dark beginning, a dark middle, and it's gonna have a dark end for him as well. His purpose is dark, and so I don't see him as this jovial, funny character that they've made him out to be in the show. He's
I like him
dangerous.
better in the
Oh yeah,
books.
Yeah, I like him better in the
yeah.
books too.
Yeah,
He looks,
he doesn't. I mean, his whole life he's fighting to keep that happy face. And maybe I'm thinking if he says to himself, if I keep smiling, like what do we do now? Like when we go out, like we have our own, everybody has their own issues, right? At least what I do, I don't go out there and I don't put them on anybody else's shoulders. I kind of smile, and I don't want their day to be worse because my day is bad. So I will smile for people to not give them that burden. So Tyrion is very much happy, or not happy, but he always has something to say. He has a lot of energy, but on the inside, like you said, he has a lot he has to carry. But he has this he's playing this game of not letting anybody see his weaknesses, or to keep the real weaknesses to himself.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. He has plenty. He has
Yeah.
plenty. And
He
I mean,
wears his wit as an armor.
yeah, and his wit is his armor, and they said that in the John chapter on their way to the wall, and all of that. But it starts off funny. He makes these little jokes and these little quips, and his chapter is more humorous than some other chapters, like Eddard. But there's a dark underbelly in
It's because
Tyrion.
he's learned that defensive mechanism where he can pop off with the quick whips and the little smart ass remarks
Mm-hmm.
to kind of just go on the defensive before, or the offensive rather, before he has to go on the defensive with anyone, because he's used to it from his father. He grew up with it. I mean, he even said himself, his father looked for the lowest person for him to do the sewers at Casterly Rock. I mean, he just looked down on him that far.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a lot of self-loathing, and I love his character. And
Yes, I do
He's
too.
my favorite one of my favorite ones. Especially, I decided that after just kind of rereading some stuff, and I'm thinking, I actually love that man. I mean, and so many things that are wrong with everybody. There's something,
Yeah.
but like so far right now, he's my favorite thus far. We'll see what else I come up with.
Mm-hmm. If there are any questions in the chat, please post them now, and we can answer them for you as best we can.
There are a couple. There's a couple.
Right out of my mouth. Mischa, the birthday girl. It's your day.
We should have the after
Happy
stream.
birthday.
We should have like this after stream, party here. That will not be recorded. Yeah. Celebrating his birthday.
You all, when it's like Donald Duck's birthday or Mickey Mouse's birthday, and they have like the extra parade and the extra. Like that's the jingle that's always in my head. Happy birthday, Mischa. Happy birthday to you. Happy.
Now, Jen, since I see all those birthday wishes, I'm gonna be jealous if you don't do the same thing for my birthday. Although I don't think it's gonna be.
For you too.
I want somebody to sing something to me too. I love how much love Misha's getting. I want somebody to sing for me too. I mean, I'll have my family sing for me, but I expect that they know it. They're already practicing. So in about a month, I'm gonna be like, "Hey, where's my song?"
No problem.
I just did.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mischa. Happy birthday to you. And you guys can guess, I have no problem with karaoke.
That's why I don't do karaoke.
don't bother me a bit.
It
Oh
don't
my
once I
God.
get to a certain level, but I ain't at that level yet. We'll get louder later.
There are more here. There's more comments here, and who was it? Somebody again cracked me up with the sayings. We have to do something about it too, like a cute little thing about the sayings from Game of Thrones. Who was it? Valar Morghulis. I don't know how to pronounce
Yeah,
it.
I said that, and then Cammy told him,
Yeah.
it's like nobody's gonna know what that means. Just go to somebody and be like, "All men must die."
I did that
Exactly.
the other day. A cashier asked me what my tattoo meant, and she's like, "Oh, okay, that's pretty cool."
See, that is scary. That is scary. Like to my kids, my other saying is I say, what do we say to God of Death? Don't ask me why I say that, but yeah, there are events and things, and like, hey, what I told you, what do we say to God of Death? And they're like, not today. I'm like, exactly.
The same thing I say to my husband almost every night.
See, that is something. Arya has her list, right, of people to kill, and everybody who is past whatever age or just mentality should say that thing before bed. What do we say to God of Death?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will not see it.
Blood riders outside her window and door and everything because she's a little Khaleesi. She's 5, but she wants blood riders.
That is just so. Oh my gosh, that is so funny. Yeah, I need to do that more often. And then yeah, the whole thing about all men must die. That would be scary. To have it.
A great comment here in the chat. He is a man who is forever seeking his father and mother's love. I think more in particular his father's approval. And his whole life, his sister has told him he killed their mother, and that's why their father and she hated him. That's from Moni.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. He's certainly looking for love.
Definitely. I think he's always, and that's the deal with the prostitutes.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
That's the
Yeah,
deal
he keeps
with the
questioning if he keeps questioning can a whore really or truly love somebody or a man, however he phrased it. So he is exactly. He keeps questioning that. Like, is he really worthy of being loved? I mean, it's not just can a whore love somebody, but can anybody love him? Yeah.
Yeah, he feels
It's
like
funny because
with the whores.
Yeah.
His whole life he's been taught that basically money can buy anything. You know, his whole life
really ever
seen that. So he doesn't see, that he's not really buying love. He's buying somebody to act like they love him.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wants, I think someone said this already, that he wants to feel like he's worthy of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. He's a man searching for love and looking for it in all the wrong places. And
and I think everybody can empathize with that.
Yeah.
Just
Even
about everybody has a situation in which they felt unworthy and they felt like perhaps they were always given a little bit more than they got.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like you said, Jen, it applies to today too. I mean, there are so many people who don't end up finding love, and I know personally a couple people, and they're great, and I'm thinking, like, I know there's nothing wrong with them. It's just basically either not given, like it's not written for them, or whatever the reason. Because I know it's hard, and people may think like, okay, I'm good, I'm this and that. Why can't I find somebody, to love me? So it must be terrible. I mean, for people who are actually looking for that, who are actually seeking that second person to love them, and if they're not able to find it, it must be terrible. I mean, questioning yourself, thinking, what is wrong with me? And technically there may not be anything wrong with them. It's just how life is. Life is not fair.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. So
but,
yeah.
I mean, you have to kind of love yourself before you can be loved. And he doesn't really love himself at all. I mean, the fact that he goes to whores and drinks himself into oblivion, that proves that he really doesn't have a great love for himself.
That's true.
So, and plus, with no one else around him loving him, I think it really explains the darkness in his heart.
I do too. And that's why I think a lot of people have a tendency to even though Tyrion is more of a dark character in the books, as you've pointed out many times, Mischa, I think people have a tendency to gravitate to him because his problems are very relatable. Not having the love and respect you wish from a parent or a sibling, not being able to find love, being down on oneself because one does not measure up to society's expectations of how one should be. I think those are all such relatable things in any society that it's very easy to like Tyrion instead of to hate him.
Yeah. And for him, it is it's the thing. I mean, with he needs to understand, and that goes for anybody. You need to first understand yourself and accept yourself and realize. But again, he's still kind of on that mission to understand that he doesn't need, or he shouldn't need approval. Like he should be fine with however he is, and just seeking. People waste entire lives, entire decades sometimes, or lifetimes by seeking approval from somebody or people, and they may have to just realize that they may never get it, and the sooner they realize it, the better it is. And I think that's a lesson a lot of people go through, either with their partner, which let's say may end up not being their partner, or with parents. They may seek approval from parents, and again, just because somebody's a parent doesn't, it's not, you don't get a sticker saying, yeah, you're perfect, go on with your life. No, you are developing as you're raising your family. For example, you're developing with them, and hopefully the kids won't have too much psychiatric bills after you're done with them, and they're going to turn out okay. But it's all a learning experience for everybody. So poor Tyrion, I mean, I completely feel for him.
Guys, do we have any?
Well, it applies to everybody. You're right.
Do we have any questions or any observations you would just like noted before we end the chat? It's about that time where we have to end the chat because we like to keep it at an hour and 30 or 2 hours.
Yeah, there was something I wanted to mention, but go ahead if anybody has something.
I do have something really quick, and it was whenever she was talking about when they were talking about kill Tyrion when they were in the inn, and the innkeeper was like, "No, don't kill him in here. I don't want any of the major lordlings coming down on me." And look what happens later. We do actually see that she didn't want any of the major lordlings bringing trouble into the inn at the crossroads there, and she eventually it's already foreshadowed there. She kind of brings it upon herself.
Right. Well, what's her name? Mischa. Am I getting this totally wrong? But for some reason, the name Mischa Hedel.
Mischa.
Yeah.
Mischa.
My name.
Mischa Hedel. Yeah. Poor Mischa Hedel. She's going to end up being hanged, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And the crossroads itself, where all of this happens, there's going to be a lot going on at that place. A lot of interesting aspects and interesting avenues will be explored right there at that crossroads.
Oh, a lot.
They're gonna come back to that place in this book. They're gonna go back to it in Storm of Swords, and they're gonna do it for Arya, and they're gonna do it for Jaime. I believe is gonna come back there as well. The crossroads. It's a really, really good name for a place because it is kind of the crossroads.
Okay, we have a really good question in the chat from Kev. Are there any characters you see as not caring what people think about them? I can't think of any. On the exterior, Jaime, which I agree, but we all know from his time with Brienne, it really does bother him, but he does a very good job at not letting on. In fact, with Brienne is the only time we see him really drop that facade. But then I was going to say, Brienne does care, in my opinion, to an extent, but she's used to this. She's used to people thinking that she's ridiculous, not able to fight, making fun of her. I wouldn't see that bothers her any less, but I would say that she has, she's just more expectant of it all the time, and which is kind of how I think Jamie is. Jamie's expectant of it because it's been going on for so long, but on the inside, it does really bother him. Okay, Pete, that's a good one. Pete Easy says the Hound.
Yeah. And here, Baba Husky mentions Bran. This is actually who I wanted to mention too. Bran doesn't kind of, I don't think he cares because he'll say anything. At least he doesn't care. It's like he doesn't care about his life because he should be the one who should be careful about his tongue. But yeah, he doesn't look like he cares about anything, just about money, not about.
Pete says Kyburn. I'd agree with that. And also, Bronn and Stentor. And not only do Bronn and Stentor not care, but they tell people the truth, even kind of when, they don't try to mask anything with courtesies. They just tell you the way it is, right to your face, which, and we were talking about that earlier. There's some honor in that. Well, I would say you're on, but I was doing a rewatch the other day, and maybe he doesn't so much care what people think, but he certainly does enjoy it when people see him in a positive light.
Oh yeah, he's a player. It's like an actor. He just loves.
Right, he loves attention.
Yeah,
that's man. He loves attention, doesn't he? But
that one.
Sansa needs to have these people care, and well, maybe I've said that wrong. I'm sorry. Sansa, is a person that needs for the Lannisters to have a decent, approval and respect for her, just for the sake of her life. She can't, just tell them exactly what they think, what she thinks of them. She needs their approval just to keep her life.
Exactly.
But I think, on the inside, of course, she doesn't care what they think, but she has to get their approval. She has to look a certain way. She has to present herself in a certain way to these people.
Okay, good opposite. Good opposite there. Like, whereas Jamie acts very much so like he doesn't care, but on the inside, it really does bother him. We see him break down with that. Sansa is somebody who, from all outwards appearances, you would think she cares 100%. And she does start out that way. Mm-hmm. But in the end, I think she thinks to herself, all these people are liars and criminals, and who cares what they think. But she has to, that's her survival mechanism, is her facade. Oberyn, that's a good one. No, he doesn't care.
No, and I'm thinking Arya too. I mean, she's very defiant too. But again, all of them, like we see, they're all playing that Game of Thrones. It's mentioned a couple times in a book, and not everybody. I'm not sure if you can hear my dog. He's like stretching over there and making noises. Sorry about that. He's half asleep, dreaming, I think. So yeah, they're.
Lauren, can y'all hear him?
No. So good, because those are scary noises. Like, I forgot he's behind me, and I'm hearing this. Like, oh my. But yeah, so like everybody over there is playing Game of Thrones, and for some of them, Game of Thrones is surviving until they can get close enough. Like Sansa, she has to do what she, keep her eyes head down and looking at where she's stepping and being nice and using her what she was taught as a lady to survive, basically. And everybody, so not a lot of them don't care, but some care, like Cersei. She didn't care at some point, but then there was time where she had to be very careful. She couldn't just, if she didn't care, she would say what is happening between her and her brother, but she cared enough about that to hide it. But later on, she doesn't hide it anymore.
Right.
But there are consequences for that.
I have excuse me.
Go ahead.
LMR, I have to kind of disagree with you on that point in regards to
on which
Cersei.
one? Okay.
Cersei.
I think that deep down she does care what people think of her, even though she's honed her exterior not to care. But I think she kind of gave herself away when she was talking to the High Septon. She says, a woman needs love. A woman needs to be loved. And I think she's talking about herself, kind of explaining to him why she fell into bed with her brother. She felt unloved all her life, and she still feels unloved
Yeah.
to this day. So I think on a deep, level, she does want to be loved. She does want to be the queen that everyone loves and everyone cheers for, but is not getting it. And she's so desperate for that love that she would stoop, to laying with her brother.
Yeah, I get
She
it.
wanted to be Jamie. I mean, she was looked as lesser by her father even and it got less love even because she was a woman essentially. So she's always after that affection and that love and approval and by
Yeah.
any means. And that, even with their children, I mean, she knew Joffrey was as bad as he was, but she still loved him and wanted him to love her, even as horrible as he talked to her and treated her. And that was the only one she let even get away with it, other than Tywin.
Yeah,
And
and
Let me say
I
this.
agree with that. Yeah.
Machiavelli says in The Prince that a ruler doesn't need to actually be good, just have the appearance of being good. And this so much reminds me of Cersei when we get her at the Battle of the Blackwater, kind of leading the women,
yeah,
because that's what's expected of her, to put on a brave face and kind of have all the women near her and whatever. But as she says to Sansa, this is show, of course, she doesn't care. She doesn't give two shits about anybody else but herself. But according to Machiavelli, in The Prince, that's all that you have to do. In the
With
chat, Rich
I
said,
do have another one to add as far as the don't care, and it's kind of all people, and it's the wildlings, because
yeah, they don't care at all.
really, yeah, they could care less what anyone thinks about them. I mean, the only
Yeah.
thing they're concerned about is, hey, we want to live. We don't want to end up as on the other side with the whites, with others.
Yeah.
and we've got PDZ saying Arya only cares about the pointy end, and we've got Rich saying Craster.
Crester, yeah.
Craster doesn't care.
I just wanted to add something about Cersei too. Like for me, I truly don't. I think she was already broken as a child. We see that kind of a flashback, how she was treating, and then possibility of her having something to do with her friend's death at some point. So I think she's broken in general, but I think she kind of tried being good in the beginning with her husband, with what's his name? How can I forget his name? He's like
Robert.
Exactly. Why do I think of Richard? Oh my lord, I don't know why. Anyway. So yeah, Robert. Gosh, I have to write it somewhere. So yeah, she tried in the beginning, but then but one word that came out of his mouth, and she completely like, okay, whatever. After that, I think yeah, I don't think. I truly don't think she cares much, just because later on she mentions to Sansa that something about they need to fear you, like your people will need to fear you to something, and then Sansa says something like, I want them to love me. So Sansa is the opposite of Cersei in that way. Maybe at one point Cersei wanted to be loved, but when she saw that she tried and she got burned on that special day, I guess, for her, she might have just given up. But at one point, I do believe there was some good in her. Obviously, when it comes to her children, there's all good. She's completely blind, or maybe not blind, but she chooses to be blind as far as her son goes. So there's good in her. She cares about her children, but I think that's all. Her children are the only thing that, like she said, that were keeping her
Grounded.
good. Yeah, grounded. Grounded.
I agree with you. I think it was this evolution of her madness, basically.
Yeah. And there's one thing I wanted to mention before we have to go. If there's, again, that reminded me about Cersei, and that we see her as potentially having a cold breath, and it's being said over and over that her eyes were, or something about was cold. So but then there was something about Catelyn that again during that was, I think, before the battle, when it said something like, Catelyn stood with a coldness on her face such as he had never seen. Again, that that's just something I noticed in the text when Kit dies later on. That kind of foreshadows, like before when Ned was saying, "Oh, we're never ready to, like, nobody's ready to die," and boom, then he dies at the end of the thing. So yeah, he wasn't ready to die, and nobody's ready, and then we weren't ready for him to die.
Right.
And he's the one who mentions it too.
This
Yeah.
chapter actually started out talking about it was a pre-dawn chill when he butchered the horse too. So I thought that was very interesting because it's kind of, well, it was pre-dawn chill and with her in it too. So yeah, Lady Stoneheart intrigues me. Let's just put it that way. I'm not a Catelyn fan. I'm not a Tully fan at all, except for Blackfish. I like Blackfish, but yeah, Stoneheart is intriguing me definitely.
Yeah, and there are so many, yeah,
little hints.
Yeah, and one time Kat is questioning his honor as Lannister, but then again she's accepting his word or honor as Lannister when he gives her the weapon. So she agrees for him to. So like yeah, but again, this is kind of going back with her being back and forth, logical and illogical, at that moment.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and there's one more thing. With everybody, I have a note here. While we were talking about this, I just put a note here. So many, like, I guess, crazy people out there. I remembered that somebody either in the comments or somebody in a video, so it's not my thing, somebody mentioned it somewhere, that what if maesters are basically poisoning people? Maybe not poisoning to kill them, but to change their way of thinking, because obviously there's a lot of cousins marrying cousins, so that may be an issue, that they may be kicking themselves with their actions of not having some new blood. But somebody mentioned somewhere maybe it's maesters making people kind of loopy, because there's always a maesters. Like, why? I mean, obviously I guess there needs to be a maester, but what if they're the ones controlling who goes nuts and which way
they're behind it, in other words, basically.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that because of what's her face, Lysa. She seemed fine in a way, like I said before, but all of a sudden after Kat is gone for a couple years, she goes completely cuckoo. Yeah, that's a really quick change in a person.
Yeah,
that was just my thought. Not my thought, but my thought brought about by our conversation, and I heard about it somewhere else.
If you figure out where you heard it, let me know.
yeah,
Definitely.
Pete Easy said, or bad little finger baby seed. You mean that baby batter's bad?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What happened? Bad little finger. What does that mean? I missed it.
Yeah.
It went over my head, guys.
It means she was sleeping with Littlefinger, full on, and like maybe he poisoned her with,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Yeah, because
I kind of wonder, did something happen? Did they ever get close to doing something with each other?
Who?
Littlefinger and Catelyn. I mean, part of me, I know what
they were, right?
But did they get close? Did they move? They may not have slept with each other fully, but it just feels like something else was going on. Like maybe they could have moved close to that point, maybe second or third base. I don't know. But
it talks about them kissing. Both of them kissed him.
Yeah, they were using poor guy. Yeah, I mean,
we're all making out with each other, but I don't know.
No, I agree with you. Actually, I think that she's trifling, and I think that she basically kind of had had him whipped pretty much.
Yeah.
And the mind of a young boy on puberty, and I could see she was a couple years older. I could see him latching on and getting ideas in his head that weren't really there. I mean, you look at that little twin girl.
Exactly. Roberta Flack started playing in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, just
a young boy.
and just think about it. I mean, that one boy. I mean, he was they were raised together in a way, right? Or at least in close proximity. And then you have those two girls, or almost not women, but young girls who, and he must have felt great, obviously, besides the kissing. But like, hey, they chose me. I'm their practice buddy or whatever you call it.
Right.
So
You're
he,
king of the
yeah.
world.
Yeah, exactly. He must have first of all felt good, like, yes, like awesome. But then again, thinking about himself more than he should have. I mean, they picked him because maybe they knew he's, as you said, whipped completely, and he won't say a word because he won't get it again. So
And I
yeah.
mean, and if I may be so bold as to say, as women, we know what to do to keep a man interested. And I think that Catelyn was doing it to the hilt. I don't believe that she was, not leading him on just a little bit. I mean, women do that all the time. We're known for doing it. The beautiful women have done it. Even the ugly ones have done it as well.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Charms. We have our charms, and we know what to do to keep a man in line and keep it.
And I'm gonna tell
Like
you, I'm not
Cersei
gonna
said,
believe
right?
I'm gonna admit this, but I've been married for a while now, and I've been with my husband almost 10 years. But I swear to you, it's when you dating somebody that you don't think is that attractive, they play you so hard. I mean, it's like some people just have this talent. You be dating somebody, you're like, oh, I'll be safe with them, because no, don't even think that way.
That's the words
Yeah.
of wind. That's the words of wind
Or so
again.
and then what Cersei said about
True,
women, right?
so,
That what was it? Sansa was taught a lesson. Cersei said like their power is where, between where. So they knew the comment. It said Kev said seven house would love that. He's completely right. Mostly. That is so funny.
all right, I want to say this
But
name.
yeah, like no, they do it, which is bad.
Well,
Bad wouldn't do that. And, men have power somewhere else, and women can have power
Since the beginning of time.
just too.
That's
Yeah.
true. I want to give a shout out to it. Yeah, boy, John CDNA twerk.
Oh gosh.
Oh Lord, you crazy kids.
Interesting. So, and it's interesting because Littlefinger, and that was his start, right? He was controlled by women. Oh, that is a good one. My gosh, I just realized it how it connected for me right now. So Littlefinger started as being controlled by women, right? He had those two powerful women, I guess, young ladies, controlling him, making him eat stuff, and then later on he grows up to have his brothels, and he has women being controlled by him eating stuff. Yeah, so that nice turn for him. I guess he's on top right now, or I don't think he's there doing anything, but yeah, he won on that part.
yeah,
Right.
Yeah, women, for him, or it's not a balance. When he sees women, he's either being controlled by them or he's controlling them to their detriment.
That's the problem. He's never had a true partnership
Yeah,
with anybody, and he's never received any love because we know he didn't have a mother.
Yeah.
So he's never experienced an unconditional love from a woman.
Right. That's true. That's true. Mm-hmm. But hey, it's not all about Littlefinger. It's about Tyrion, and I don't want to run him into the ground. I can't wait to. But if I may say this one last thing, I would love to see a chapter from his point of view.
Oh, me too.
Please give me like a Littlefinger point of view, just one. If you just give me one, that would be just so great. I would love to see what's in his mind. What's really going on up there, because all we're getting is the opinions of other people.
Right.
I want to hear his opinion, and what's going on here with him.
I think so on the show. Well, obviously he's gone. He's goners. But there are, like, if we don't get it in a book, and there are a couple other characters I really, really want to know about, like again, what's his name? Varys, for example. He intrigues me so much. So like, obviously in the show we won't get it. In the book, please, that would be so awesome to get, for whoever, like Littlefinger or Varys, to get their point. But in the show, I'm still hoping for Varys, for us to get a little bit of a glimpse into, maybe before he dies, if he dies. Well, I think he's gonna die, but before he dies, it would be great if he kind of could have this reveal, not for the show, but like, with some other character that's non-relevant, where he can actually show us his true face, like his public. I think he's mentioned like his private face and his public face. I would love to see his private face at some point.
Speaking of Varys, because I love Varys, I absolutely love Varys, and I'd love to see a point of view with both of them. I'd like to see them interacting with both of them from either one of their point of views. But with him on the show, because Melisandre did say that he would be dying, But yeah, I really don't want it to go like with Littlefinger, where we don't have that fulfillment. Because what was the whole point of Littlefinger then, other than just to cause problems between the sisters? It's like we didn't have the satisfaction of just knowing, especially reading and all his parts that he's played. I mean, he essentially started it all from the beginning.
Exactly. That's one of the kicks. Like right now, I'm not a kicks. Like it really bothered me. I mean, they had to do what they had to do. It's their interpretation. The show is their interpretation. So I'm not, being mean about them or anything. But obviously, I did not like how he died. They needed maybe less people to get paid, and they needed a quick out. Again, give me a good death on the show. Like, that would be better. But yeah, you're right. Like he isn't he the one who started it all? I mean, from the point like where the show started, not the whole thing, but from where the show started, he was the one. And to kind of kill him like this, I was like, oh, please just don't do that again.
Yeah,
give him a good death.
And especially with Varys, because to me, Varys is kind of like his counterpart,
Yeah.
So I just feel like, and especially where they're not doing the whole Aegon Fagon thing on the show. Yeah. We just need something more than that. Now, where we've seen him where he's grown his hair out, and it is that Targaryen color now, out in public. Do you guys think that we're going to see him grow his hair out on the show in the last season and be revealed as something more?
You mean Varys, or?
Yes.
I want him to be somebody else who he's not. And I want to be nicely surprised. I have a couple things that, I have my whole wish list. I will be fine with this or that. Other things I will not be fine with, and I'll be raging. No, but I would love for him to be somebody else than just, a person. Like everybody, there are so many theories on it where, he wouldn't be just, his body parts would not be sacrificed if he were just, nobody. So he is somebody, but I want him to be somebody awesome, and I'm going to be speechless. Maybe I'll shut up then.
Right. Something that's going to make me go, did that really just happen? Yes. Now I feel better, Yeah.
In the book, Varys, is the master of disguise. He's always playing the role of someone else.
Yes.
Play the role of a jailer, play the role of a woman, if I'm not even mistaken, in the books. In the Tyrion chapters in Clash of Kings. He played the jailer, and he became a different person as he was discussing his past to Tyrion. His voice changed, everything changed. So it's definitely a person that can assume another identity.
Even his smell, yes.
Even his smell, his walk, everything changed. And he can do that with ease. He grew up.
I think on the show, we may get some kind of reveal of his true parentage, and that might lead up to how he dies.
Yeah, they have to give us something. Like, I know they're great people making it, so I know it's possible. Not everything has to be a long thing. Make it a 10-second, 15, 30 second thing. You can achieve a lot even without saying. So I know there are people who can do it. Hopefully they will do it. There is a comment I wanted to read out. It says, imagine Littlefinger's thoughts were really regretful and kind. What would be that would be an overwhelming chapter to read. And Bridge 4, Kevin said that. And that got me thinking with, all we see is people trying to be strong and to survive, but there are characters that we don't see them completely break down. Like, we did see Littlefinger cry, but that was kind of like, I did not like it. We never know how we would behave facing death, right? Like looking at death in the face. So we don't know what we would do.
Yeah,
you may start singing.
What you won't do.
You may do karaoke at that moment. So I'm not judging that, but we know Littlefinger as Littlefinger, and maybe there is. No, not maybe. I know there is some goodness in him.
Yeah,
something good. He basically kind of turned out to be not so good in general. But yeah, like Kev said, like that would be really a chapter to read, to actually see him for who he is. In front of himself, not to hide, not to put that game face, to be himself.
To be in his head.
Yeah.
That's why I love the book so much. I love being in his head.
Comments?
Sorry, I didn't hear you, Jen.
Somebody read Rich's comments.
Rich, the last one? Which one?
Oh, okay. He was talking about that. He said, he's talking about Littlefinger. He did conspire to kill Jon Arryn, so it could be argued that was the start of the shit show we're in now, and that Varys has to be Valyrian.
And also Bubba Husky said,
and also why he keeps his head shaved to hide his silver hair.
I think so too. And Bubba Husky says, "Fat gone," and what he's alluding to is that in the books, Aegon is 100% real.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, we're 10 minutes over. And while we could probably stay on here with you guys all night.
Yeah, we can talk forever.
I actually have to go to downtown New Orleans tomorrow and get my Social Security card changed.
I'm jealous.
I'm sorry for you.
No, I want to go with you.
Not the quarter. I'm not going to the quarter.
It ain't even the quarter. I like the quarter in the daytime when it's not as crowded. But I love just going to New Orleans in general. I love Louisiana.
Well, you have to come visit. I have a really nice guest room. And I know all that. Yeah, we go to Magazine. We're not going to Bourbon.
I'm telling you, you need to come on the Florida, girl. Come on the Florida. I got to be ready.
It must be so much better. Like if I had to go to do any Social Security, any office, any kind of office, I would prefer to go to your town.
Well, they said the wait is generally 2 hours and 45 minutes. I have to go take my marriage license and get my Social Security card changed to my married name and I have to do that for work.
So a lot of patience. I'm gonna ask you how you survived it. I'm gonna have to do some things too for a thing. So I'm gonna ask you how you did that to find your Zen. Somebody told me to find my Zen before I go to do certain things in offices. So I'll ask you how it went.
Okay, and I will be sure and tell you channel announcements.
Yes.
Special stream Sunday. Me, Elamar, and Fura Hexa will once again be talking Johnsa, King John, Queen Sansa, Part 3. We're going to go through some foreshadowing we haven't gone through, as well as the historic basis we think that Sansa has. And let's see, next week we're on Arya. I think it's Arya 3.
It's Arya, yeah.
Is it Arya 3?
I can look it up while we're finishing up.
Please do. Does anybody want to take the overview on that?
I will, if that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can do anything.
Okay.
And then I just wanted to mention before, if you're like you said, we're doing those those streams about Sansa and John. So really recommend for everybody to look into the original video. And if you don't have time to, it's still very good if you do it 1.5 speed or 125. It's because it's 50 some minutes long. Great video. And then we have those.
Her heart and soul into this video.
Yeah.
This video is like 55 minutes long. If you're going to sit down and watch this video, it is like watching a television show. And anybody out there who makes videos has got to know that garners respect right there. Okay, same panel next week for Arya. I believe it's Arya
3. Arya 3. I just found it right now. Yeah, Arya 3.
You're going to take the overview?
Yeah.
Awesome. Happy birthday, Mischa.
Happy birthday.
Okay, y'all. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, we're going to celebrate in Dallas.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Lucky
we go to dinner, and when you go to the bathroom, I'm going to tell the waiters it's your birthday. Look, now she's not going to go out to eat with me. It's going to be like, y'all worked at El Chico's in high school. It's going to be like, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
Oh my God.
Y'all ever have somebody do that to you and it's not your birthday and you're sitting there going, oh, wow, it's somebody's birthday. And next thing you know, they put the sombrero on your head and you're just like,
hey, I would do anything for that free cake. For free, some restaurants do give free slices of cake. There is I think Chili's. I love Chili's, by the way.
I do too.
I love that.
Appetizers too at some.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm gonna get some of that tomorrow. After talking about food and cakes, and there was a cake.
Cooking.
Yes, cooking. Okay, I'm getting hungry, and it's
Chocolate chips
after 10 here. So yeah, but like they did the whole birthday treat for a birthday person. So I would definitely do. I would record it that would be so awesome, Jen, if you could record it for us.
Oh, I'm going to make a whole video from the card.
Yeah, because I'm so jealous.
Next week too, it'll be more hard with 5, but we're a pretty good group and we're pretty experienced, with the exception of Rhee, but she caught on really fast, and I think that'll be really exciting to have all girls for Aya. So
nice.
We're gonna break that down.
That will get better.
We hope you guys join us. Yes, we're coming to Cammie's hometown. We need you to pick me out a restaurant that does all this birthday stuff. Mischa's looking at me like, I'm not going out to eat with you if you're going to do it.
I'm going to crash through, okay, Cammie?
I want that free dessert.
No, just pick a restaurant that does the free desserts. The Chili's here, and our kids usually pick. We all love Chili's.
I love Chili's too. They got a good drink too, and Mischa says she likes a frozen drink.
I never tried there. I just
they got a good pina colada.
Yeah, more of a at home stuff, but who knows? But they actually don't do that here. They don't give any free cake anymore. I'll still buy it. Don't get me wrong.
They give it, but you have to what's that? There's this one restaurant that's very similar to like Applebee's or Chili's, and if you say it's a birthday, they bring out a little mini chocolate cake, but you get charged for it on the bill. It's like Forno with Charlie O.
Oh my God,
that ain't right.
No,
I know Longhorn gives you a free appetizer. I got one for my birthday.
There's a place called Oh Charlie's here.
Yes, they're amazing. I love them.
Yeah, they'll actually give you a whole free steak dinner, but they seriously look at your license.
Oh, I don't mind that.
I would have went there. You know how much we eat there? Oh, man.
It's delicious.
So who's going to actually eat after this stream? Because I have my snacks right here. I've been nice enough not to munch on them.
I got fried chicken right here that's been waiting on me.
Fried chicken. We had fried chicken last night.
I love fried chicken, baby. Cajun, too.
I am hungry. I'm going to eat after this stream. I know it's late, but I'm going to be bed. I'm going to nibble on some things because I'm already hungry, ladies.
Okay, I want to thank everybody who came to the chat tonight. Kev wished you a happy birthday, Mischa. I'm sure everybody actually wished you a happy birthday. Pete Easy, Moni, Cammie. There's nobody who forgot you, and that's fabulous. And I just, Rich, thank you so much. Stacy Smythe, thank you. Let me see. Moni, Cameo, Kev, Pete Sayal, Pete Easy. Rich Shatwell, it was good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. hey, whatever, something twerk. Thank
Yes.
you for just thank everybody for the support. It's so much more fun when we have people in the chat. But even if y'all wasn't here, we would have just went on like we did have people.
we can wing it. Nobody has a problem talking here, so this is a very talkative group. I love it about that group. There's no silence.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
We would
indeed.
not do well on your own ship. We would be in big trouble.
Oh Lord, wait till I review LMR's book.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jen. I got you blushing, didn't I?
You did. You did.
Oh, good.
Want to read it.
That was the intent.
You too.
You got me wanting to step away from Game of Thrones to read it now.
Oh my
Yeah.
God!
I said that about
You have to
nothing.
read her book. It's very good. It's but yeah, it's hot. I mean,
Yeah, right. See, yeah. When you're talking about you fell asleep reading, I'm going okay.
it's like it's getting hot in here. Hot. It really is.
See,
Well,
yeah,
you're
no, that's
welcome.
time for me to read something.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, but it's not bad. It's not really bad. It's like it's a good bed type of thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'll read it. I love books. I love stories. I'll read just about anything just to read
gosh.
anyway. But no,
Just
Amy was telling
warning.
me about it too.
That's not my normal genre, but actually, to be honest, her book kind of supersedes any genre. You start off thinking that it's sci-fi, and then it gets into let me just call it adult fiction.
Okay.
Very
Still
good.
sci-fi.
Very good. I mean, like, whenever I haven't finished a book, I can tell if the book really interests me. If during the day, at any time during the day, on the toilet, washing dishes, walking to the mailbox, what have you, I am thinking about the characters in my mind. This book does that for you. Again, everybody, we've got to go. Because some of us have work tomorrow. Some of us have to sit up at the security office all day. Again, Mischa, happy birthday. We'll see you back here next week for Aria 3.
Mm-hmm. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Good night. Thanks for having me, guys.